Good afternoon. Paul shares these thoughts in his second letter to the church in Corinth. So we're not giving up. How could we? Even though on the outside it often looks like things are falling apart on us, on the inside, where God is making new life, not a day goes by without His unfolding grace. These hard times are small potatoes compared to the coming good times, the lavish celebration prepared for us. There's far more here than meets the eye. The things we see now are here today, gone tomorrow. But the things we can't see now will last forever. This is a great truth for us, especially in these days of uncertainty. Statistics highlight for us the very high number, in fact, of people around us that are facing discouragement, despair, worry, anxiety, so forth. But this is such an encouraging word for us from Paul. He's writing from his own experience of facing multiple challenges and troubles. Paul has been beaten with rods. He has been pelted with stones. He has been shipwrecked. He's been confronted by bandits. He went without sleep. He was hungry. He was thirsty. He was cold and naked. And on top of all of those issues, he felt the daily pressure of concern for all the churches that he was responsible to oversee. And with all of that, yes, with all of that, he states that he is not giving up. What was the secret? What was it that kept Paul in his determination to hang in there? Perhaps there's at least two options I see. Number one, Eugene Peterson writes in The Message as he interprets Paul's words in verse 16. Even though on the outside it often looks like things are falling apart on us, on the inside, where God is making new life, not a day goes by without His unfolding grace. It appears to me that Paul is suggesting that despite what circumstances look like, whether that's physical or mental or emotional, God is at work in us. See, God is not hampered by the circumstances that surround us. In fact, only we are hindered by those circumstances. And that hindrance is our inability at times to see anything that's positive. And what Paul is saying is that despite what things look like, God is at work through His ever-present grace. Secondly, there's a forward-looking aspect to these words of Paul. He wrote, "Our temporary minor problems are producing an eternal stockpile of glory for us that is beyond all comparison." Now, someone said this was a challenging passage. And the reason they said that is because it calls us to fix our eyes not on the here and now, but on eternity. And Scripture continues to remind us of the temporal versus the eternal. And it's hard for us, I admit, to focus on the eternal when life in the present moment presses us and seems so real. I do like Peterson's take on this verse as well. These hard times are small potatoes compared to the coming good times, the lavish celebration prepared for us. You see, the evil one seeks to make us doubt. He tries to make us doubt God's good intention or His control of the world affairs. Looking at the circumstances will lead us to conclude that everything is hopeless. When we realize that despite what we see, that God is indeed at work, and that our hope is really not in the present, but in the future that God has promised us, we learn then not to despair, but always to be filled with hope. Now, I'm thankful in these days for the encouragement that Paul gives in this letter to the church. When we experience discouraging times or start to feel overwhelmed, we can be assured that God is with us and at work in us. Paul, like us, did not seek for such trials or plagues, but when they came, we, like him, will discover a shower of extra grace from God. We can also look to the future and hold on to the hope that we have in Jesus Christ, a future that this life cannot compare with anything that God has planned for us. So the hope for us today does not come from good or easy circumstances, but from the Lord himself. The things we see now, says Peterson as he interprets Paul's words, the things we see now are here today, gone tomorrow. But the things we can't see will last forever. This is the word of the Lord. May God be praised, and may he bless you always.